Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, across our beloved Kyber Empire. You're watching Arnold Holiday News. I just want to say happy Leviathan Eve. Ladies and gentlemen, we're a day away from unlocking the Leviathan for the very first time in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes, and today we got our first look at the Leviathan and its animations and truly seeing what that ultimate looks like. Is it worth the hype? I'll show you this right now. This gives me a lot of like Rogue One, Darth Vader-esque type of vibes. It's really darn cool. Maybe not as cool as the Death Star animation, but nonetheless, pretty darn sick to see. So I thought we were gonna go take a look at the animations. We're gonna see this kit in full action tomorrow. We're gonna do some extensive gameplay testing. Extremely excited to get my hands on it with you guys. Let's go hop on over and show you what we got cooking over here today. You know what? I want to point this out first. As much as this kit's exciting, we're going to take a look at all these fun animations in here because they didn't show it to us before. Today, I guess, is probably the official kit reveal, and they kind of gave us a little teaser of the actual kit in the road ahead. But the thing that kind of bugs me a little bit is that, unfortunately, let's find the positive first. The good thing is these were Galactic Chase ships, so a lot of people got them to 7 stars for free. Wasn't too hard to get the 5 stars for free, and if you tried a decent amount, you've at least got the 6 stars if you're really trying to push for these ships. The downside is I'm assuming there's going to be an update in the later on today, tomorrow, that's going to add the event, get it ready to go, and then generally how these events work is when the next day comes, the event turns on, and then you'll probably be able to start farming things like the Mark 6 Interceptor as well as the TIE Dagger. It just sucks though. Unlike Cal Kestis, where you had a few weeks to farm as much as you can before the event, you didn't really have that much time to farm these unless you went into the weekly shipments and splurged on a little bit of crystals. Kind of sucks, but the good thing, again, these were Galactic Chase ships, and you probably got a lot more done than a normal marquee event. So let's go take a look. I guess it's a good opportunity for us to refresh ourselves on the kit while we take a look at these animations, and they also added a dev Q&A type of thing, which they did not have in the road ahead. Some interesting stuff. So already we know we have the anti-breach mechanics, which make it very difficult for Executor to land breach, which makes it difficult to hit their ultimate. And then we have things like Profundity, where it has anti-critical hit mechanics, which makes it difficult for Profundity to hit his ultimate. Then you're gonna be able to cripple the enemy capital ship by sabotaging its reinforcements. Remember, the whole goal of this ship, which is the first of its kind, I definitely have a few more questions that I don't know are completely answered here. You're taking over the enemy capital ship, and you are literally just using their ship. You're going to own 2 capital ships in a battle, make their capital ship do dumb stuff while you're making all the good plays, and it doesn't seem like it's going to be that hard to hit the ultimate. Let's go take a look at the inspiration. We already saw this part, I think, in the road ahead, but Design Leviathan was definitely challenging. Profundity and Executor are the best of the best. So how do we create a capital ship that would surpass them both? Then it became obvious. Just take the enemy's capital ship for yourself. In several moments of the older public games, you are on board a ship that is being boarded or doing the boarding yourself. This felt like a great theme to embrace with our Sith Empire, a capital ship. We wanted the feeling that your Darth Revan-led strike teams were making their way through the ship, crippling the key areas like the engines and hangars before they finally make their way to the bridge and taking control of the ship, baby. Going all Jack Sparrow on them. So there's a few questions I have, even after read the FAQ. There's a lot of ferocity in the kit, and you need to hit 50 debuffs to reduce the cooldown of the big ultimate ability. And I already kind of have a general idea of how the pacing of this capital ship is going to be. What I'm a little confused is the ferocity that you can grant to allied capital ships and whatnot. Does that count? Possibly no, based off this FAQ. But anyways, ferocity is technically a debuff, so it works great with the TIE Dagger's unique ability. TIE Dagger bringing in the damage, constantly assisting. The B-28 Extinction class bomber, although there's a lot of debuffs on the team, this is a great point out right here. He inflicts a ton of concussion mines, being able to land debuffs passively, helping you hit these key thresholds that you need to unlock certain specials and ultimates, and then he keeps his allies alive with the taunt. One thing we noticed right away, this ship is incredibly durable with Malgus on the field. So yeah, this is pretty nuts. Inflicting lots of debuffs is crucial because the earlier you use special one, the better. I'm wondering what they mean by in most cases. There's obviously some sort of situation where you don't want to use the special one as early. You could maybe want to hold off a little bit. So kind of curious about that. And this is kind of going to be a theme throughout the kit that I'm not 100% sure about. Well, I'll point it out when it gets there. But they're saying the ferocity buffs don't count towards activating special one. It's only triggered from other allied Sith ships. So the capital ship doesn't count towards the special one and the other debuff thresholds. Again, and we're going to do a little reminder of the kit reveal just so we're kind of fresh in our minds, ready to go for it tomorrow. And then they're reasoning why you only can use both specials once. Again, you only use special 1 special 2 once. It looks like you're going to use special 2 first before special 1. Once you take over the capital ship, you'll have all their special abilities to use against themselves. It still sounds so cool. Here's all the requirements. That's old news. Nothing too new here. Let's take a look at our lovely animations here. That's what we're primarily here for that first look, kind of getting a vibe on how this is going to feel on the enemy side of the field. Geez. I don't even know how we're going to beat this in off-meta way yet, but that's a whole different thing. It looks like they maybe messed up the basic ability name here. Deadly Stack. I believe that's the Mark 6 Interceptor ability where you get the big insta-kill. We'll remind you guys of that, too. Apocalyptic Fusillade. Nothing too dramatic or inspiring with this animation. Kind of seems... The basic abilities for most captives are always kind of a bit bleh. A little on the lame side, so I'm nothing too much to see here. Just let's remind ourselves of the kit reveal. Because now with these FAQ and additional insights, I do have a few more questions, but we'll wait and see to understand it. So basic ability, deal special with the target enemy and inflict shock for two turns. So although the animation looks a bit meh, it's doing a lot of stuff. You get shock for 2 turns, which stops turn meter, stops healing, stops taunting, all that other stuff. Then all Sith allies gain 1 stack of ferocity for 2 turns. So I'm a little confused here. I think I know the answer, but I'm leaving that wiggle room for I need to see and wait. So he grants ferocity on the basic, and I'm guessing that they're saying that does not contribute towards the 15 debuffs here, or when we get to that ultimate ability, seize the bridge. If you get 50 debuffs, you can reduce the cooldown by 1. So instead of a 5-turn cooldown, it's a 1-turn cooldown. My hunch is that this ferocity that Revan can grant doesn't count. But a Sith ally capital ships game that might be a little bit different. Again, I wish they would have expanded that comment a little bit more. Anyways, if the target enemy was already shocked, and you're going to inflict doubt on them for 2 turns and 2 random enemies who don't have it. If Seize the Bridge was already used to your Big Daddy ultimate, if it was already used, you dispel all buffs on the target enemy, inflict fear, which can't be dispelled or resisted. If we know anything from Profundities, the Executor, once their ultimate goes off, you're kind of screwed, and it's just an easy cleanup at that point. This guy's going to control your capital ship, so you can't do anything. And then he's going to apply all this stuff on the basic. You're pretty much cooked. The second your capital ship gets taken over, boy, that's still crazy. Anyways, moving on. Sabotage the hangars. I'm going to read this last, or second to last, because it doesn't seem like you're going to use this right away. It's special 2 that you're going to use first. I think we called it out during the road ahead. Special 2, Sabotage engines, doesn't have any sort of requirements to meet here. Taking a look at the animation, I kind of wish, they did, maybe it would have been too redundant to keep sending a ship over, but it would have been cool to maybe see like a squadron fly by, destroy the engines or something like that. It just kind of happened randomly. I guess you got to kind of imagine maybe there's already troops on board doing it for you. Anyway, sabotage the engines. Let's remind ourselves, shall we? Limited 1 use per battle. Reduce the enemy capital ship speed by 30% for the rest of the encounter and remove 30% terminator, which can't be resisted. This being the first one, the reason why I'm saying that, not just because it sounds good, there's no conditions. There's no 15 debuffs you got to meet or anything like that. You're going to hit that right away, and boom, right away. The enemy capital ship is sluggish. It lost a bunch of terminator if it's not profundity, and it lost 30% of its speed, so it's not getting the turns out there to call in reinforcements and all that other fun stuff. But besides that, Sith allies gain critical hit immunity and 5 stacks of ferocity. So again, I don't think that counts towards the 15 debuffs and the 50 debuffs. I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, this just got a lot more powerful than I'm imagining. And target Sith ally gains breach immunity for 3 turns. So right here, you're going to use this at the very beginning, not just to make the pace of the battle go into your favor, but if you got critical hit immunity, Profundity can't do much. All those rebels, they were all based on critical hits. 5 stacks of ferocity, and then the breach immunity makes it pretty much impossible for the Executor to try to reduce its cooldowns as fast as possible to hit that ultimate for the Executor and try to turn the tide in his favor. It's going to be a very complicated opening play trying to beat this. But eventually, here's what I'm imagining the pacing is going to be like. First turn, Leviathan gets sabotage the engines. Second turn, probably a reinforcement of some sort. Third turn, you're going to be probably hitting that 15 debuff threshold. And then you're going to use that special 1 ability. I don't think it's going to be that hard to have your special 1 unlocked. 15 debuffs, assuming the ferocity does not count. That Revan grants, Malgus applies a lot of debuffs. The B-28 Extinction Bomber applies a lot of debuffs, and all the Sith apply a lot of debuffs in general. I don't suspect that's going to be too hard. So turn 3, you're going to use special 1, and I would think by the time the 4th turn comes around, you maybe already hit 50 debuffs. And when you hit 50 debuffs, as we see down here, You reduce this cooldown by 1, so possibly a turn 4 ultimate ability. It's what it's trying to show. Otherwise, it's a 5-turn cooldown, as we're going to remind ourselves here. So I think the thing that's going to be nice if you're using the ship or your opponent's struggling against you, the good thing is it's a very predictable ultimate, whereas Executor Profundity, it's kind of up in the air. You know, it's kind of, you know, depending on how much breach or critical hits you apply, depending on what capital ship, it could kind of vary on when it goes off. Here, you just know at maximum in 5 turns, it's ready to go, so long as these specials 1 and 2 are used. Anyways, nonetheless, take a look at the animations. Again, I wish the special 1, special 2 had a little bit more flair to them, but you just get that little explosion there. Nothing too much going on. But again, I think you got to kind of role play and imagine you got some Sith troopers on the ship over there. Anyways, let's remind ourselves, limited 1 use per battle. Sith allies gain more critical hit immunity, 5 stacks of frost for 2 turns, and the target ally recovers 40% health. Woo! That's a big boost. I'm guessing you're going to want to give it the B-28 bomber. That dude's going to be taking up a lot of hits. Let's just heal him up again. Increase the cooldown of all of call reinforcements by 1. On the enemy capital ship, if they're lighted, kind of a weird call out. My guess is it's probably targeting Profundity and the Phantom. They probably worked it out in a way where they expect someone to call in Phantom. That's usually the first reinforcement for the most part in most situations for Profundity. And then by then, you're just going to increase the cooldown. So kind of canceling out what the Phantom was trying to do. That's my guess. And you're going to inflict capital ship Sabotage on all enemies until the end of the encounter and the next enemy reinforcement or siege the bridge is used. So capital ship Sabotage, the next allied capital ship, or allied ship, I'm sorry, called the reinforcement, boom. It's just immediately destroyed upon deployment. So man, that's just, it's nuts. And it seems like it's only the next reinforcement, especially since it says the next enemy reinforcement probably goes away at that point. So it's not like you're going to keep destroying reinforcements. So I'm guessing maybe one way of trying to beat this ship is you got to get rid of this debuff, capital ship Sabotage. So maybe you just got to bring out a burner reinforcement, let them destroy it, so that way you keep the better reinforcements for the next go around. So again, trying to, this ship's cool and all. My mind's always, I know this is going to dunk, but how do we dunk on it in an easier way? So that off meta situation, that's, I'm kind of getting some ideas floating from when we test out this ship. And then this ability can't be used unless the other allied Sith ships inflict 15 debuffs. So again, if I'm understanding this correctly, all this frost that's being granted, I'm guessing that doesn't count. It's only the Sith, other allied Sith ships inflict 15 debuffs. I'm guessing. But I do notice, I think the verbiage is a little bit different when we see, like here, so they might be 2 different things. It's these minor words that give me some ambiguity. Here it says other allied Sith ships. You need 15 debuffs. So that makes sense that Revan can't contribute, but this feels like Revan can contribute to this. I wish there was a question on the Seas Bridge. This is kind of a big deal. I just want to rush down here. So normally it's a 5-turn cooldown, and you only could use it if special 1, special 2 are used, right? But it says the first time Sith allies are inflicted with 50 debuffs, reduce the cooldown by 1. And I'm guessing this is a little bit different verbiage, and this is really looking at the ferocity that they can grant themselves and all that other stuff. So that's what I'm assuming is going on. They're a little bit different. I think maybe I answered my own question. So I think Revan's ferocity he's granting probably will trigger all this, and I don't think it's gonna be that hard to hit that cooldown reduced by 1 situation. But anyways, what does it do? The Big Daddy ability right here. I'll let you watch it 10 times while I read this just to remind ourselves. Limited 1 use per battle. Take control of the enemy capital ship, reset its cooldowns, and grant it a bonus turn. While controlled, you can't use call reinforcements. Makes sense. Why would you want to call in reinforcements? And the cooldown of the alt ability is set to max at the start of each turn. I'm guessing it means while the enemy capital ship is controlled, you can't use call reinforcements. See, this is again some things I gotta wait and see till we play. Does that mean Revan can't call reinforcements? And then I'm assuming you can't use seize the bridge again. There's no more bridges to seize at that point. Or is that meaning you can't call reinforcements on the enemy ship and their ult ability, but not everyone has something crazy? I don't know. They might be saying that basically you can't, it just locks out the Death Star, locks out Profundity's animation and all that stuff. So that's what I'm guessing it's meaning. That's why I wish they were a little bit more specific. So while control, it has to be the enemy capital ship. Allies recover 50% health and have their cooldowns reset, and all enemies are inflicted with fear for 1 turn, which can't be evaded, dispelled, or resisted. This ability starts on cooldown the first time Sith allies are inflicted with 50 debuffs. reduce the cooldown by 1. So I think as I'm reading this several times over, I think I'm answering some of these questions myself. I think Revan can contribute towards the debuffs. It's mainly calling out ferocity, it seems like, or maybe debuffs even being applied from the enemy team. And I'm almost certain this means that if you control Profundity, Profundity can't call reinforcements, and their ult ability is always at the max. I'm assuming that's what they're trying to mean here, especially it doesn't make sense because this ability is always on a 1-turn cooldown. Anyways, let's go check this other stuff out. And just one more reminder, this ability can't be used unless Destroy the Engines and Sabotage Hangers were used in the same encounter. And then let's check out the Wrath of the Sith, the leader ability, and then we have our reinforced stuff. Again, you probably already read this, but it doesn't hurt to remind ourselves. It's been a couple weeks. Sith allies gain 15% max health. Great for the B28. It's going to eat up a lot of heat. Just keep the hits coming. And then, of course, you're going to heal, which is great. So he heals even more powerful. And, of course, Malgus does damage based off max health. So that's going to be great there. Sith ships gain critical immunity, 1 stack of ferocity, which I believe that, again, contributes towards our cooldown reduction we need. 1 stack of We Have Returned for 2 turns. And Sith Empire ships gain an additional stack of We Have Returned whenever an enemy is summoned. So mostly calling out General Grievous here. Reduce their max health by 50% until the end of the encounter. Kind of a weird thing. I don't know why. I mean, the Vulture droids are already, the ones that are summoned, they're already kind of frail. I guess just makes them more frail so you can just deal with them fairly quickly. Enemies attacking out of turn deal 50% less critical damage to attacker Sith allies. So it's kind of weird. It's not all Sith allies, just attackers. So kind of a weird, it's a very specific call out. I mean, the B28 doesn't need more help, but you know, if let's say the B28 is not taunting, and you're going for someone else, at least they'll have some ways of taking less critical hits. Whenever an enemy's debuff expires, a random Sith ship gains 1 stack of ferocity for 2 turns, limited once per turn again. That ferocity is going to be helpful for getting that 50 debuffs, if I'm understanding this correctly. Mark 6 Interceptor gains an additional 10 stacks of Devouring Swarm, which is what it needs for that Big Daddy ultimate when starting its first turn after it's deployed. And then lastly, whenever an enemy reinforces, boom, just hit him with the dace. We're not screwing around. And then Sith ships are immune to max health reduction, which is great because they have a lot of max health based things. And then the reinforcement bonus, if you want to take it a step further, reinforced Sith ships attacks can't be evaded, which is stupendous against Executor. And anytime you call on a reinforced, it's like, oh, I got evasion up. It doesn't matter. They're going to make their hits. They gain 5 stacks of ferocity and they ignore taunt effects until the end of the turn and stun target enemy for 1 turn, which can't be resisted when deployed. And in case it's a little bit rusty, just a reminder, with the Mark 6 Interceptor on that basic deadly stack, once it has 40 stacks, which isn't all that hard to hit, boom, just instantly defeat the target enemy. So if that wasn't enough, what we read, taking over the capital ship, not enough. You want a Darth Nyla's basic annihilate, you got it here. So I think we already said this before, but my theory for what's going to be the go-to lineup, obviously Leviathan, Fury class Interceptor starting at B28, God tier combo right there, and then likely TIE Dagger going to be utilized in the starting lineup, constantly assisting all that other fun stuff. And then you're going to get that other stuff in here. I'm kind of wondering, because I don't think it's going to be pulling advanced Emperor Shuttle out, but I do suspect it might be using Scimitar Sith Fighter in there as well. But it almost feels like do you need any more reinforcements? It could be like kind of like Executor, a 5 ship fleet lineup. Nonetheless, really cool to see all this. I'm certain it's going to be dunking out there, y'all. My question is, as much as this looks great, I'm always thinking, how do we beat this ship in the easiest way possible? And on top of that, I think this is going to be great for Rise of the Empire. Kind of a side thing. There are some impossible dark side ship missions. I'm assuming that Leviathan's going to help out. Nonetheless, I'm excited to hang out with you guys as always tomorrow. We're going to be testing out the Leviathan extensively. Offense, hopefully get some defensive gameplay. But more importantly, while we're hanging out, having a good time, I can almost assure you that we're going to be saying, dang, it's great to be in the Empire today.